Have you ever met someone who feels like a mystery, even after years? Not distant, just hard to fully know. Someone quiet, observant, deep. They listen more than they speak. They notice what others overlook. They understand you before you understand yourself. They pick up on subtle shifts, tiny changes in tone, unspoken emotions. But when you try to understand them, you hit a wall. Not because they are hiding, but because they are layered. That personality is often called INFJ, the rarest personality type in the Myers-Briggs system, often described as introspective, intuitive, emotionally complex. The one people describe as complex, intense, contradictory, sometimes even misunderstood. But why? Why do people view INFJs as the most complicated personality? Why do they feel so different, even in familiar spaces? In this video, we will explore 12 powerful reasons. Each one will gently unfold another layer. Each one will help you understand the hidden depth of the INFJ mind. Stay with me, because by the end, things will feel clearer. Not simpler, but clearer. And maybe, you will see yourself, or someone you love, in a whole new way. 1. They feel deeply, but show very little. INFJs experience emotions on a very deep level. Not just surface feelings, but layered emotions that overlap. They feel everything. Joy feels intense, almost overwhelming in its warmth. Pain feels overwhelming, sometimes difficult to put into words. Empathy runs through them like a constant current. They absorb the emotions of others, even when nothing is spoken. But here is the paradox. They rarely show it. Not fully. Not all at once. They process emotions internally, slowly, quietly. They need time to understand what they feel. They don't always express what they feel. Not because they don't trust others, but because they want to be sure. Sure of their own emotions first. So from the outside, they seem calm, composed, even distant. But inside, there is a storm. A constant movement of thoughts and feelings. This creates confusion. People assume INFJs are emotionally detached, or guarded. But the truth is the opposite. They are emotionally saturated, sometimes even overwhelmed. This gap between inner intensity and outer calm makes them hard to read. And that is the first layer of their complexity. 2. They crave connection, yet need isolation. INFJs deeply value human connection. Not small talk. Not surface-level interaction. They want meaningful conversations. Conversations that go somewhere. They want emotional depth. Honest sharing. Genuine understanding. They want to feel understood. Truly seen for who they are. But at the same time, they need long periods alone. Not occasionally. Regularly. Silence is essential. It gives them space to process. Solitude is not optional. It is how they recharge. How they reset their inner world. So they pull people in. They connect deeply. They invest emotionally. Then they step back. Quietly. Without much explanation. They connect deeply. Then they disappear for a while. To others, this feels inconsistent, unclear, even contradictory. One moment they are present. The next, they are distant. But for INFJs, it is balance. A necessary rhythm. They need both connection and isolation to function. Without one, the other becomes overwhelming. Too much connection drains them. Too much isolation disconnects them. So they move between both. And that movement can be hard to understand. 3. They see patterns others miss. INFJs have strong intuition. Not just intuition, but deep pattern recognition. They notice patterns in behavior, repeated actions, subtle inconsistencies. They read between the lines. They focus on what is implied. They sense what is not being said. Silence speaks to them. This gives them a unique perspective, one that is not always obvious. They often understand situations faster than others, not through logic alone, but through quiet observation. They can predict outcomes, not perfectly, but often accurately. They can see where things are heading before others realize it. But this creates a problem. They struggle to explain how they know. There is no clear step-by-step, They just know. It feels intuitive, instant, and when they try to explain it, it sounds vague or abstract, hard to follow. This makes others question them or misunderstand them, sometimes even dismiss their insights. But their insight is real. It just operates beneath the surface. Quiet, fast, and complex. 4. They live in the future more than the present. INFJs are future-oriented thinkers. Their mind naturally moves forward. They are always imagining possibilities, different outcomes, different paths, planning outcomes, trying to understand where things will lead, visualizing what could be, not just what is. This makes them visionary. They see beyond the present moment, creative, full of ideas and meaning, forward-thinking, always considering what comes next. But it also disconnects them from the present moment. Sometimes without realizing it, they may seem distracted or lost in thought. Because they are. Their mind is often somewhere else, exploring ideas, connecting dots, building meaning, trying to understand the bigger picture. To others, this looks like overthinking or distraction, and sometimes it is. But for INFJs, it is natural. It is how they process life, through reflection, through projection, through meaning. 5. They have strong values, but keep them private. INFJs have a deep internal value system, not shallow beliefs, but deeply rooted principles. They care about truth, not just facts, but honesty, integrity, doing what feels right, authenticity, being real even when it is uncomfortable, justice, fairness in how people are treated. But they don't always express these values openly. They don't announce them. They don't display them loudly. They keep them close, protected, held carefully. Why? Because they are selective. They don't share their inner world easily. Not with everyone. Trust must be earned. Slowly, consistently. So people may not realize how strongly they feel about certain things at first, until suddenly, they do. And when that happens, it can seem unexpected, even intense, like a sudden shift. But those values were always there. Steady, quiet, just hidden beneath the surface. 6. They are both logical and emotional. INFJs are emotional, deeply aware of feelings, both their own and others. But they are also analytical. They think carefully. They reflect deeply. They feel deeply. But they think deeply too. And these two processes happen together. They can empathize and analyze at the same time. Feeling and thinking are not separate. They overlap. This creates a unique balance. One that is not easy to see from the outside, but also confusion. Because it does not follow a simple pattern. Sometimes they lead with emotion, responding from empathy. Sometimes with logic, stepping back to analyze. Sometimes both at once, which can seem complex, even unpredictable. This makes their decision-making hard to predict. They weigh multiple layers: emotion, logic, impact, meaning. To others, it may seem inconsistent, unclear, but for INFJs, it is integration. They are trying to honor both heart and mind, without ignoring either. And that is not always simple. It requires constant inner adjustment, and that adds another layer to their complexity. 7. They adapt to others, but lose themselves. INFJs are highly empathetic. They don't just hear people. They feel them. They pick up on tone, energy, subtle shifts in mood, things most people overlook. This makes them incredibly aware of others. They can sense discomfort, even when nothing is said. They can feel tension before it becomes visible. So they respond, almost automatically. They adjust their behavior to match the environment. If the room is quiet, they become softer. If the room is tense, they become calming. If someone is hurting, they become supportive. They become what is needed in the moment, without being asked, without even thinking about it. Supportive, understanding, flexible, almost like emotional shapeshifters. But this constant adjustment has a hidden cost. A quiet one that builds over time. They begin to lose touch with themselves. Not all at once, but slowly. They may stop asking, "What do I feel? What do I want?" Because the focus is always outward, always on others. They may struggle to know what they truly want, because their identity becomes fluid, dependent on who they are with. In one group, they are quiet. In another, they are expressive. In another, they are deeply reflective. All of these are real, but none feel complete. So people see different versions of them, in different settings. And this creates the impression of inconsistency. It can look like they are changing masks, or hiding something, but that is not the intention. The truth is much softer, much more human. They are trying to maintain harmony, to keep things smooth, to make others feel safe. But in doing so, they sometimes forget to hold on to themselves. And that is where the complexity deepens. 8. They are private, yet want to be understood. INFJs are deeply private people, not because they have something to hide, but because their inner world feels sacred, personal, delicate. They don't open up easily, not in the beginning, not even after some time. They observe first. They listen. They study the emotional safety of a space. Before they reveal anything real, they guard their inner world, carefully, like something fragile, something that cannot be exposed too quickly. Because once it is, it cannot be taken back. But at the same time, there is a quiet longing inside them, a deep one. They want to be understood, not on the surface, not through small talk, but on a deeper level, where words are not always needed. This creates a quiet tension, a push and pull. They want connection, but fear being fully seen. They want someone close, but hesitate to let them in. They want someone to understand them, without having to explain everything, without having to translate their thoughts, or simplify their emotions. They long for someone who just gets it, naturally, intuitively. But this kind of understanding is rare, very rare. So they wait. And while they wait, they remain quiet, reserved, often misunderstood. Others may feel shut out, or confused. They may think the INFJ is distant, or uninterested. But the reality is different. The door is not closed. It is just protected, carefully. This dynamic adds another layer to their complexity, because what they want, and what they show, do not always align. 9. They are idealistic, yet realistic. INFJs are dreamers, not in a careless way, but in a meaningful way. They believe in a better world, a kinder one, a more honest one. They imagine meaningful change, not just for themselves, but for others, for society, for the future. They want to make a difference, even if it is quiet, even if it is unseen. Their vision is often clear, detailed, full of purpose. But they are not naive. They are also aware of reality, deeply aware. They see flaws in systems, in people, in themselves. They see limitations, barriers, things that slow progress. They understand how difficult change can be, how slow it is, how fragile it can feel. They see challenges before they even begin. So they live in two worlds, the ideal and the real, one filled with hope, the other filled with truth. This can create inner conflict, a constant tension. They want things to be better. They believe they can be better, but they know change is hard, sometimes painful, sometimes uncertain. So they move carefully. They don't rush. They think things through. They reflect. They adjust. They push forward, but with awareness, with caution, balancing hope with realism, trying not to lose either. And this balance is not simple. It adds depth, but also complexity. 10. They overthink everything. INFJs have active minds, always moving, always processing. They analyze deeply, not just situations, but meanings, intentions, possibilities. They reflect constantly on what happened, on what was said, on what could have been different. They replay conversations in their mind over and over, looking for hidden meaning or missed details. They question decisions, even small ones, even after they are made. They search for meaning in everything, Why did this happen? What does it mean? What does it say about me? This leads to overthinking. Slow, quiet, persistent. Small things become big. A simple comment becomes a question. A moment becomes a memory they revisit. Simple moments become complex, layered with interpretation, with emotion, with possibility. This mental activity is invisible to others. No one sees the loops, the analysis, the silent questions, but it shapes everything they do, how they respond, how they trust, how they connect. It slows decisions, because every option is explored, every outcome imagined. It creates doubt, even when things seem clear, because there is always another angle, another possibility, another layer, and all of this adds depth, but also weight. It adds layers to their personality, making them thoughtful, but also complicated, in ways that are not always easy to see. 11. They give so much, then suddenly withdraw. INFJs are generous, not just in small ways, but in ways that are deep and lasting. They give their time, even when they are already tired. They give their energy, even when they have little left. They give their attention, fully, without distraction. When they are with you, they are really with you. They listen closely. They notice details. They remember what matters to you. They invest deeply in people, not casually, not on the surface, but emotionally, mentally, sometimes even spiritually. They don't just care. They commit. They try to understand your world. They try to support your growth. They try to be someone you can rely on. But here is what most people don't see. All of this giving has a cost. It slowly drains them, quietly, over time. They may not say anything at first. They may keep showing up, keep giving, keep understanding, even when they feel stretched. But there is a limit, a quiet line, deep inside them. And that line moves slowly, until it doesn't. And when that limit is reached, something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly. They withdraw. Sometimes suddenly, sometimes without warning. This is often called the INFJ door slam. But from the outside, it feels confusing. To others, it feels shocking, unexpected, cold, like everything changed overnight. But it didn't. The change was building, for a long time. It was happening in silence, in small disappointments, in repeated patterns, in moments where they felt unseen, or unvalued, or misunderstood. But for INFJs, it is a response to emotional exhaustion, a kind of inner shutdown, a need to protect what is left, or broken trust, trust that took a long time to build, and only a few moments to break. They don't do it lightly. They think about it. They reflect on it. They give chances, often more than they should. But when they do reach that point, something becomes clear to them. They realize they cannot keep giving. Not like this. Not anymore. And when they do, it is final. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. They step back. They close the door. And they rarely reopen it. This pattern adds to the perception of unpredictability. Because people only see the ending. They don't see the long process before it. They don't see the quiet warnings, or the inner conflict. So it feels sudden. But for the INFJ, it was the last step, in a very long journey. 12. They are constantly evolving. INFJs are always growing. Not just outwardly, but inwardly. They are always reflecting, looking back, looking within, trying to understand themselves more clearly. They are always changing, in subtle ways, in deep ways, sometimes even in ways they cannot fully explain. They question themselves, their choices, their beliefs, their direction. They ask difficult questions, and they don't rush the answers. They sit with them, they explore them, they seek improvement, not perfection, but alignment. They want to become more authentic, more honest, more true to who they are. They explore their inner world, carefully, curiously. They examine their thoughts, their emotions, their patterns. They try to understand why they feel what they feel, why they react the way they do. This means they are never static. They are never fixed. They are always in motion, internally. Who they are today is shaped by what they have learned, what they have felt, what they have let go of. And that version keeps evolving. May not be who they were last year, because last year they were still learning, still becoming, or even last month. Because sometimes growth happens quickly, quietly, but deeply. This ongoing evolution makes them hard to define. Because just when someone thinks they understand them, something changes. Not randomly, but meaningfully. A new insight, a new boundary, a new perspective. Just when someone feels certain, something shifts, something deepens, something becomes clearer to them. And that change reflects outward, in how they speak, in how they respond, in what they allow, and what they no longer accept. And this cycle continues. Growth, reflection, change, again and again. So why are INFJs seen as the most complicated personality? Not because they are trying to be, but because of how they experience life. Because they are layered, in ways that are not always visible. Because they are deep, even when they appear quiet. Because they hold contradictions that actually make sense, once you understand them. They feel deeply, but stay quiet. Because not everything they feel can be put into words. They crave connection, but need space. Because connection energizes them, and drains them at the same time. They see patterns, but struggle to explain them. Because their understanding often comes before language. They live in the future, while trying to stay grounded. Because their mind is always reaching forward. They are private, yet long to be understood. Because being seen feels both comforting and vulnerable. They are emotional and logical. Because they don't separate heart and mind. They adapt, but search for themselves. Because harmony matters, but so does identity. They are idealistic, yet realistic. Because they believe in better, while seeing what is. They overthink, because they care. Because meaning matters to them. They give, until they can't. Because they invest deeply, until it becomes too much. And they evolve, constantly. Because staying the same is not an option for them. All of this creates a personality that is not easy to define. Not simple. Not linear. But that is not a flaw. It is depth. A kind of depth that takes time to understand. It is awareness. A constant noticing, of self and others. It is complexity, with purpose. Not confusion, but meaning. If you are an INFJ, you are not too much. Even if it feels that way sometimes. You are not confusing. Even if others don't always understand. You are simply layered. And those layers have value. And if you know an INFJ, be patient. Understanding them takes time. Be present. Because they notice presence more than words. Because beneath the complexity is someone who understands more than they say. They observe. They connect. They see what others miss. And feels more than they show. Quietly. Deeply. Consistently. If this video helped you understand INFJs better, take a moment to reflect. Slowly. Honestly. Who in your life fits this description? Someone quiet, but deep. Someone complex, but caring. Or maybe it's you. And if it is, now you know. There is nothing wrong with the way you are. There is meaning in it. You are not alone. There are others who think like you, who feel like you, who see the world in similar ways. Stay thoughtful. Stay curious. Keep exploring your inner world. And I will see you in the next video.